this Tuesday evening, we will have the Dutch Ethereum and Bitcoin meetup in the Beurs van Berlage, the old Amsterdam Stock Exchange in Amsterdam, of course. And you are going to give a sneak preview about Lith and Next. So I guess the best is that you introduce yourself a little bit and what is Lith?
I'll first introduce myself. My name is Bas Wisselink. I'm from Amsterdam. Since the end of last year, I've been a stakeholder within Next, which is a second-generation crypto platform. And I am within the Next community. I'm one of the people who works within the marketing group and also develops contact with businesses and is setting up different projects within the platform itself. One of the projects that I have started with several other people is Lith. One of the ideas that we had was that that we wanted to use the Next platform to see if it's possible to make games on it. The people I make it with are also avid game players, and we specifically like economic games with quite a bit of depth. And we thought that it would be a very interesting project to use blockchain technology within multiple MMOs, multiplayer and online games, and to see if that's possible. And Lith has grown out of that.
But what do you consider economic games?
Several games have economic components. If you look at a very well-known game like World of Warcraft, a lot of people play it as combat games or just adventuring. But there is also, for instance, a very simple auction house. And what I notice if I play those kind of games, I tend to gravitate towards the auction house and actually play the market there. So I don't even spend time playing the rest of the game anymore.
So
it's an economic mini game, you could call that.
So you, in some way, you are kind of like a trader, but then not in real trade not in a real exchange, but more in everyday life, to say it like that.
Well, that's in things like World of Warcraft, it's a virtual exchange. That's certainly true. So I tend to gravitate towards that. If you look at a real economic game, I would say things like EVE Online or Virtuonomics, which is a fairly unknown Russian game, which is actually a very good economic simulator. Those are also good examples of games where economics, especially EVE Online, economics are very important in that game. They actually shape the whole universe within the game.
Because it sounds like I have to say I don't play many games myself, at least not on computers, to say it like that. But it sounds like very analytical. I mean, if you tell it like this, it sounds like you like to analyze how things work. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, that would be my angle. I like. For instance, what I really like in games is setting up production cycles. So basically creating a good and creating a secondary good and selling that at a markup. That would be really an economic approach to the game. But within the game, that like Lith, what we are developing, basically you survive in the world by creating any kind of value. So even if someone would decide to really do the classic hack and slash lifestyle within the game, you can only do that if you can afford your armor or your weapons. So you will need to be hired or get treasure like in a standard game, and that's also an economic component. So even what is possible within the game, you could turn into the bad guy. You could be a robber or a thief. That's also economic. Because it gives you resources which you then will need in some way outside of the normal market to sell. So the basis of the game is economics in any way you play it.
But you say you can be a robber, but I mean, is that part of the game or is that real cheating the game? I mean,
we are actually inviting people to cheat.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, so it's part. It's in fact, it's actually part of the game.
It is part of the game. Yes.
Yeah. So it's not like holding back some cards, not showing it to others.
No.
But I saw some pictures and a movie from Lith. I mean, is it? It was written that it was just an. It was not a very literal. That you shouldn't take it very. Those pictures were just nice pictures, but the game is not completely ready and such. So you shouldn't expect it to be literally like that.
Exactly.
But is Lith kind of like, I mean, is it kind of like a role-playing game or it's a trading game?
I think it would best be described that the underlying game mechanic is completely economic, but the way you play it is definitely role-playing in a certain way. So people will take specific roles within the game. But it is an open game. That's very important. So we are not going to interfere as game makers. Most games force you to follow a certain path. We are taking a different route. We have a few ground rules which are needed in the game. For instance, how things are created. But what people do with that is completely up to them. If they want to cheat each other within the game, they can. If they want to be terribly successful by cornering, monopolizing a market, they can. If they want to find out to create new content, they can. So we hope to be surprised by how the game evolves. It's called emergent gameplay. There are a few very well-known game developers who have done work in this. Peter Molyneux would be from Populous, and now Goddess would be probably the best known. You start from a very simple start, which is the same for everyone, but the way they play the game changes the game world.
Yeah, you mean that as far as I can understand, in the time of Super Mario Brothers, there was a very defined set of possibilities, and if you won it all, then you were the winner. But nowadays, you have some basic algorithmic rules. The rules itself are defined, but how they turn out when you play them is very difficult to predict.
Yes, exactly. That should be the part. That should be it's the game which is best known for doing that right now is, for instance, Minecraft.
Okay.
Minecraft has the most simple premise that you can have. You get resources and you build with it. But what people build with it is amazing, and that's the kind of mechanic that we're talking about.
Okay. And how does Next come into this?
One of the things that we are going to do is we have the next asset exchange, and the next asset exchange allows you to trade assets within the next platform. We are going to create an in-game currency, which is also at this moment called Lith, probably will be renamed, and this is immediately tradable within the next asset exchange. So the in-game currency that you generate, that you make, you can trade directly to Next. And because Next is also directly tradable against euros and dollars and renminbi, allows you basically to earn money in the game.
But does that mean that, for example, multiple times a day I check the rate of the Bitcoin against the euro and dollar and such?
Yeah.
Does that mean that when Lith is running and people are playing the games,
yeah.
their playing of the game actually influences the rate of the Lith of the asset exchange? And in that sense, it has influence on, for example, the next rate?
Lith will be pegged. Lith will have a stable value against Next. So,
okay, yeah.
So it's not that. That's something we decided very early on. Lith will not. We will work with Lith in the way that it will not fluctuate on the market. So one Lith will have a stable value towards Next.
Okay, but because the interesting thing is that the way it works, if I understand it right, it means that it's not just playing a game. It's part of reality, in fact. Yeah.
It is. It is one of the things we want to do with the game is, and a few games do it by accident already, but we want to do it consciously, is find if we can make a bridge towards a virtual between the virtual economy and a real economy.
Okay. Yeah. It's a very interesting concept. Because it's. I'm curious how it turns out.
So are we. At this moment, we are in concept stage, so we're prototyping the game.
Yeah.
So very early days. We're at this moment working with the algorithms, also making a connection between normal game server software and the blockchain, which has also never been done like this before. So we are now prototyping, and after that we're getting an alpha stage. That's basically the first playable game for experienced testers to work with and trying to break it. And we guess that prototype will take 6 to 8 weeks. Then we know the basics, or maybe we need to start over some things. And after that, we are going to alpha, which will probably take 2 months. So it will be 4 months until there is actually a playable version of the game.
And is there will Lith be open source, for example?
Open source, I do not know yet. We have not decided that one yet. It will be free to play. That's for certain. That's completely certain. So also no weird in-application sales, because the game will be paid by the fees that a blockchain, a proof of stake blockchain, automatically generates.
Yeah, because that's what I was wondering. Because it sounds like also a good business model for the game itself. But
yeah.
already figured that out.
Yeah, the proof of stake, the nice thing about a proof of stake blockchain is you have a fixed amount of coins, of course, and the only thing that it works with is transaction fees. Per kind of transaction. In Next, that's not done yet, but it is certainly possible. Per type of transaction, you can set different fees. So, for instance, if we would making an item, or in our game that would be burning coins to get a new kind of asset, give that a certain transaction fee, and you can statistically know upfront how many times that would be done by a user. Then you can model to see when you have a break-even point and when you start, what you need for maintenance. That's the way the game will monetize itself.
Because about Next, everything I read about Next, then it's always being said, Next is not just another Bitcoin copy.
No.
Can you tell a little bit more about Next? Why, for example, why isn't it just another Bitcoin copy?
Well, it certainly copies a few things, of course. One of the things, the most brilliant things that Bitcoin does and has given us is the blockchain. That is common to all cryptocurrencies, the idea of a public ledger. But Next, of course, first thing that most people notice is it's not a proof of work coin. You don't need to mine it. Actually, you cannot mine it. So it's based on a proof of stake principle. It's different from, for instance, Peercoin, which is also a proof of work, proof of stake hybrid. It has a different algorithm. But what it does differently than Bitcoin, Bitcoin certainly tries these things too, and I think in principle could do these too. They take the idea of the blockchain further. Basically, a Bitcoin is just a digital token with a value. That's it. And you can trade it, you can transfer it to others. But that kind of digital token, you can do so many more things with it, basically. And this is what 2.0 cryptocurrencies do. They implement colored coin technology, which is our asset exchange. So basically assigning an arbitrary value to a different token, which is bought by the first token. It gives you the possibility to use smart contracts, all these kinds of things. This is also possible in Bitcoin, of course, but Bitcoin has one big problem, is that there are already so many users that it's very dangerous to change things that may potentially affect a huge business already. This is why new initiatives are being started. We are not the only one. Next, you have BitShares, you have Ethereum. Ethereum is completely different from these. But this is what Next does. It's basically extending the idea of blockchain and tokens to a much broader ecosystem. So it becomes a tool to build a complete economy.
But I understood that in the beginning, the Next was developed in a closed environment. And now it's open source, as far as I know.
Since January, it's open source.
Because
April,
yeah. But I mean, how did Next erupt? I mean, about Bitcoin, we know that somewhere end 2008, someone posted something on some mailing lists, and somewhere around 2009, someone posted the code. But Next, did it? I mean, were it some developers who already knew each other, or did someone start just writing the code and other people joined, or?
It next started in September 2013 by one coder who only used an alias called BC Next. And he started in September posting on Bitcoin Talk, talking about this new system that he wanted to make. He was talking to quite a few respected people on Bitcoin Talk, like Kunikula. Kunikula you can also find on the Bitcoin wiki, because he's one of the people who actually made one of the concept of proof of stake, together with Minnie Rosenfeld.
Yeah.
And he basically started expanding this idea, and at a certain point he needed, this is one of the things that proof of stake coins need. When you start a proof of stake coin, you need initial distribution, because all coins are created, boom, in the Genesis block.
Yeah.
So he did one of the first ideas.
Yeah, wait, so you mean that with proof of stake?
Yeah.
I mean, with Bitcoin you start mining at 0, but with proof of stake, you kind of pre-mine already some coins and then you distribute them, or?
This is always within a proof of stake coin. Pre-mining as a term makes no sense. There is no pre-mining.
Okay.
Because all coins are created, but this is not a mining thing. This is the way proof of stake is made. So because there is no mining, pre-mining makes no sense within the context.
Okay, yeah.
All coins are created in the Genesis block, block 1. All coins are created, and then yes, they need to be distributed. And this is one of the things that all proof of stake coins that you see have a difficulty with, because who are you going to choose? With Next, what BC Next did was, around October, he did a so-called IPO. Now we hear a lot of IPOs, but this was one of the first ones that was done. And basically asked people, okay, can you send a small amount? The maximum was 1 Bitcoin. You couldn't go over 1 Bitcoin. Could you send to this address? A lot of people didn't, because a lot of people thought that it was a scam. At that time, there already were a lot of scams on Bitcoin, like today. over 90 people did this. A lot of these turned out, 20 of these turned out to be incorrect. So these were scraped, and 73 people got the first coins from the Genesis block. If you had 1 Bitcoin, you got a bit over 51 million. That's 5% of the total value. But I also know that there were several people that only sent a very small amount, and they got, I think, 5,000 next or something like that. So that's the initial distribution of Next.
Sorry, I missed that. How many Next coins are there in total?
1 billion.
Okay.
1,000.
But that is a fixed amount, or?
Will never change.
Okay, because
cannot change even.
Yeah, because I know from PeerShare that or from PeerCoin that also the amount itself is not really fixed or something.
At this point, not yet, because PeerCoin does minting, like they call it. That's their version of mining. In PeerCoin is a hybrid. It has a part mining, proof of work, and it has a part proof of stake. And the idea, as I understand it from PeerCoin, is that eventually, but Bitcoin does this too, eventually there will be no more mining. Then the only thing that happens is transactions on the blockchain. And Bitcoin also will grow to that, of course, but in 2140, if the last Bitcoin is mined, then it will run on transactions.
Because I mean, what is the business model for? I mean, in Bitcoin mining, it's there is a business model to mine, but are there kind of like transactions acknowledgers within Next?
Stakeholders in proof of stake, the people holding coins and forging, as it's called with us, but basically it's the same as what miners do. It's validating transactions.
Yeah.
You have an open node and you have Next in your account.
Yeah.
Then the account forges, and that means validating transactions based on the amount of count. You should the way to look at it is that each coin, each token within the Next network, every one of the billion that's out there, is a small miner. That would be the best way to understand it for people who are used to mining.
So a user is a miner, actually.
What?
Someone who holds Next is also a miner.
Well, it does the same thing as a miner. It validates transactions but the algorithm is different. But if you have, for instance, an empty account, you don't do that. If you have an open account with Next in it, then you validate transactions with it. And then you also, if you create a block, if you're the one creating a block, you get all the transaction fees within that block. At this moment, forging within Next is really profitable because there are several reasons for this. A, the interest that you basically would get on keeping your Next in your account is really low, but that's mainly because we don't have that many transactions on the blockchain yet. So in the beginning, there were loads of empty blocks, zero transactions, so you got nothing for creating the block. Now, since the asset exchange is there, that's gone up by a huge amount. And every time a new function, we now have a Next marketplace, for instance, where people can sell things within the Next ecosystem. That also creates more transactions and thus makes it more interesting to forge blocks.
Okay.
So the more the network grows, the busier it becomes, the more profitable it is to mine, to forge.
Yeah.
So that's
we've come to an end of this part.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, so I would suggest if you have another time, more time to talk further about this.
Yes.
The listeners of this show, I invite them to come listen to your presentation this Tuesday evening in the Beurs van Berlage, Amsterdam. It's 3 minutes walking from the Central Railway Station. And I thank you for being in the show, and I hope to meet you this Tuesday evening and talk further about the subject next time, because there will be a next time, to say it like that.
Nice, I would enjoy that. And for the people coming on Tuesday, bring questions.
Yeah, okay.
If you have questions, feel free to ask.
Okay. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Same to you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.